Hey there, Ipswich Town fans. Cole Pettem here from the HoltecastPod podcast, an Aston Villa based podcast. I have been asked by Rich from the Suffolk Crunch to give you a little bit of insight into, well, of course, the upcoming game this Sunday at Portman Road, and just a little bit of what's going on at Villa as of late. Well, I mean, first and foremost, you can tell I'm not English. I'm a Canadian Villa fans, and if you are wondering, yes, we do exist, and there are quite a lot of us actually. Surprisingly enough, maybe for some, but regardless of that, that doesn't really matter. Kind of getting into Villa's story as a whole, really, since we've come back up to the Premier League back several seasons ago. Of course, it's been a little bit of a while since Villa and Ipswich have played each other since the championship days. Of course, the championship days for Ipswich have been much more recent than Villa. Of course, we came up at the end of the 2018-2019 season via the playoffs. I mean, what better way to do it when you win? We know all about losing in the finals as well the year previous to Fulham. So glad to be out of that division. I'm sure some Ipswich Town fans are as well. But regardless of that, I mean, coming up with Dean Smith, a boyhood Villa fan, Jack Grealish, barely surviving the first season, literally the final day by a single point. You look at the next season, the behind closed door season with COVID. I mean, it feels like COVID lasted 80 years, but of course it was a thing, and it feels like it's been gone for a while, thank goodness. But a couple of interesting seasons, and then there's a pivot, of course, under what we term on our podcast a swear word, being Steven Gerrard's name. And a lot of hype and no promise, and that just led to the upper management owners at Villa, I guess you could say, finally stepping in and saying, you know what, we want to go after a top drawer coach, and that was Unai Emery. And really, Villa fans and the club really haven't looked back since, I guess you could say, late October 2022, beating United in the first game of his era, this current era. And like I said, we haven't looked back. Of course, the first season for Unai Emery, we qualified for the Europa Conference League. Last season, of course, we competed in it. Got all the way to the knockout rounds and came up short against Olympiacos. A lot of injuries, just a lot of inexperience. And yeah, it was an interesting ride. A fantastic season, of course, finishing fourth in the Premier League, being up there for literally the entire season for what it felt like, beating Arsenal and City around the holiday season back to back. And this season, kind of, it's no different. Of course, we're sitting in the top four, looking quite comfortable, competing. Of course, the only loss we've had this season so far was against Arsenal, and I guess if you ask any Villa fan, I would say any other day, we easily could have beaten them if Ollie Watkins was a little bit more fit and a little bit more firing. It could have been 2-0 up instead of 2-0 down, but it is what it is. That's what happens in football. You don't take your chances, you get punished, unfortunately. But yeah, that's how Villa have been, being in the Champions League, competing with the best of the best. And I think under Unai Emery and with this ownership group, that's the general ambition. And why shouldn't it be? I mean, as a football fan, you want to be highly excited about your football team and where they want to go. And Villa are going places. I became a Villa fan around the 2011 season. So I guess you could say I'm a little bit of a newbie in that regard. But I went through a lot of, I guess you could say, crap before experiencing this. So hopefully Ipswich get to experience similar things in the future. But yeah, all I can say is it's very enjoyable when your team constantly wins, especially in the Premier League. But looking at the game quickly, as a whole, it's going to be very interesting. Of course, like I said, Villa and Ipswich haven't played each other for several years now. Of course, you guys have 3 straight draws on the bounce against some good teams: Fulham, Southampton, and Brighton, in no particular order. I think the one against Brighton probably stands out most. Fulham is no easy slouches either, and yeah, it should be a very, very interesting one. I think from a Villa perspective, when I'm looking at Ipswich, I'm looking at Leif Davis, I'm looking at Sammy Szmodics, and I'm looking at particularly Jack Clark. Be interested to see if he gets some more minutes after his move from Sunderland. And how he can fare in the Premier League as well. So I think there's a lot to go there. I mean, you look at Liam Delap as well, starting to get going as well. From Villa perspective, I guess you could say there. Sorry. You'd have to look at, of course, Ollie Watkins, the main man. Jean Duran's on a ridiculous goal-scoring run, so if he's coming off the bench, look for him to probably score. That's how it's been going this season, literally. And I mean, you look at the midfield, Onana, Tielemans, Leon Bailey, Jacob Ramsey. Going forward, we have enough firepower to score probably at least almost 3 goals a game against almost anybody. Of course, you can probably leave off a few of the premier teams around this league and, of course, the world. But maybe our biggest kind of point of attack in focus for Ipswich will probably be our defense. Haven't kept a clean sheet at all this season. Of course, we just beat Wickham narrowly in the Carabao Cup on Tuesday. I mean, considering we only played I think was it 3 or 4 actual first teamers, and they're all kids, coming out with a 2-1 win was positive, but no clean sheet there and no clean sheet in the league, and it just really hasn't clicked at the back. We need to start picking those up, and I expect it to be very, very difficult against Ipswich, who are starting to keep things tight, looking to exploit people at the back, and teams at the back, I should say. So yeah, I do expect a tough one. I don't expect a 4-0 Villa win or anything like that. When I think it was 5 or 6-0 or whatever, 5-1, whatever it being when we beat Sheffield United last term away. I don't expect it to be like that against a newly promoted team. A lot more tighter. I think you guys have the right manager in charge to lead you guys into this, I guess, new era for Ipswich Town, which is very exciting for you guys. So all in all, very excited for the match. Very interested to see what Villa can expect from Premier League Ipswich Town. Always like to see Villa, I guess for me at least, going to new stadiums through the television, unfortunately. But all in all, hopefully all you fans enjoy your time there. Hopefully an exciting game. I'm, of course, going to say a Villa win. If you want a cheeky prediction, I'll go with, let's say, 3-1 Villa, because for the love of God, we cannot keep clean sheets. But anyways, probably went too long on this video, but big thanks to Rich for inviting me over on their channel. And yeah, hope you're all doing well. If you want to find, I guess, a Canadian Villa fan who loves talking about Villa with a bunch of English folks, you can check out the Holtecast. Of course, we're on X at HoltecastPod, and just literally put Holtecast into any, I guess, search engine, and we'll come up. But anyways, hope you're all doing well. Enjoy the game. And yeah, I guess I could say, up the Villa from my perspective.